Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you like the content, hit the subscribe button, leave a like down below. In today's video, I kind of wanted to go over the 10 longest reigning WWE champions in the company. And this is the WWE title, not the Universal, not the Intercontinental, just the WWE title because it's been around for so long. I mean, originally it was the WWF and so on and so forth. Anyway, so according to WWE.com, this is the 10 longest reigning champions in the history of the company. So, and I had never looked this up before, so I didn't know all this stuff. So number 10, let me do this. There we go. Number 10, Hulk Hogan. So back in, I don't know why it keeps bringing that up. Anyway, so his first one on here is 364 days. That's pretty long. Hulk Hogan. Macho Man. I did not know Macho Man had it that long. I knew he had the belt a couple times, but I didn't know he had it for over a year. That's awesome. I was a pretty young kid back then. Back when wrestling was believed to be real, so that's really cool. Macho Man is one of my favorites. Let's see. I like how he's holding it upside down. That's kind of funny. When WWE Hall of Famer Randy Savage won a tournament to become WWE Champion at WrestleMania 4, he made sure his moment in the big time was longer than a cup of coffee. The Macho Man was champion for 371 days, during which he was also a member of the Mega Powers with Hogan. Their dissolution would ultimately lead to a title match at the subsequent showcase of the Immortals, where Hogan would snap Savage's reign and begin a lengthy one of his own. Nice. AJ Styles. I had no idea, because I've just been following it. I don't watch it week to week because I go to bed super early for work, so I miss the shows and then I try to record them and fast forward stuff. Anyway, I had no idea he had it for that long. That's amazing that AJ Styles, he hasn't been at the company that long, but he's on the top 10 list of longest reigning WWE champions. That just kind of blew my mind when I saw this. I'm like, really? Like, I didn't know that. That's awesome. Good for him. He definitely deserves it. There's not much else to say about AJ Styles, what he means to SmackDown Live, or how he has upended every baffling assumption that he wouldn't fit in as a WWE superstar. So we'll just stick to what happened. The Phenomenal One began his second reign a year ago when he defeated, I don't know when this was made because Reigns isn't even on here, when he defeated Jinder Mahal and never looked back, holding off challenges from world-traveled competitors such as Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe, as well as insurgent young talent like Rusev. It used to be that a superstar like AJ Styles would point to their work in the ring to quantify their skills. At this point, it might be better to let the calendar do the talking. That's awesome. That's really awesome. And of course, Cena's on here, but I know he had it a bunch of times, but I could have sworn he had it like in one length of time longer than that. So, man, because he was there for what, 15, 16 years as the guy for that entire time. So at one time, John Cena was so dominant that the only person who could beat him was himself. To wit, the WWE title reign that the C Nation leader began in late 2006, his third, only ended by pure happenstance as Cena was forced to vacate the championship due to injury. Given Cena's momentum at the time, it's not much of a stretch to say he'd be much higher on this list had fate not intervened. Yep. And then CM Punk. I knew he had it for a long time, but I couldn't remember how long. And I remember them feeding this title reign. This is what I'm worried about happening with Reigns. So they fed him to The Rock. They let The Rock be the one to end his 400 plus day reign instead of giving it to a new guy. Just to set up Cena versus The Rock, which didn't need the title. Okay? And I think that's what made him leave wrestling. Like, also his ego. I mean, all the stuff that's come about him recently also played a factor in that. But I think this was probably the major body blow to his psyche and just wanting out of the business. And how would you have to be one of the guys in the back that would say it all the time, busting your ass? When you have a title reign like this, and you've built this heel up so big, that's when you make your next mega star. You don't bring in old guys that are part-timers or are not going to stick around for very long. You give it to the new people that you can pass the baton to keep that crazy fandom going. Make the next megastar, so that in the long run, the health of the business keeps going. If that makes sense. So anyway, Styles' forebear in many ways, CM Punk was the kind of superstar. I'm surprised he's on this list. This must be an old list. Kind of superstar. A lot of prognosticators, wrote off as a guy whose physical gifts might not translate to sustained success in WWE. Well, 434 days with the WWE title later, the longest world championship reign in modern history until this year. They finally stopped writing. Wow. That could be why they let Reigns, beat this. So after Punk, Reigns has beaten Punk's, I forget what Reigns is at. He's like almost 800 days, I think. And then Pedro Morales. This is where we get to the wrestlers I don't know, because this was way before I was born. The super exclusive 1,000 Days Club begins with WWE Hall of Famer Pedro, Morales? Who held the prize from early 1971 to late 1973. Try this fun bit of trivia. The superstar who defeated Morales for the title was Stan Stasiak, father of former WWE superstar Shawn Stasiak. He held the championship for 21 days. I think I remember Stasiak. The poor guy, I don't think he ever mounted anything. I would like to try to live up to that. So that's really cool. I like how, is that actually WWE or F? Or was the company called something else back then? And of course, Bruno. Everybody knows Bruno. Bruno San Martino. I thought he was number one. Well, we'll get to that. 1,237 days. That's amazing. This is the first two Herculean reigns on this list. The Italian Superman defeated Stasiak in New York City to begin a stint as champion that lasted a whopping 4 years. That seems singularly remarkable in itself, at least until you consider these two facts. This was actually San Martino's second run as champion, and the first one was even longer. So yeah, he's obviously number one on this list. And then Hulk Hogan. I did not know he held the title for that long. I knew he had the belt a bunch of times, but holy crap, 1,474 days? That's insane. Can you imagine anybody doing that nowadays? I think Reigns will break the 1,000 mark, but I don't know. I don't think he's going to touch these top four dudes, or top three. Yeah, four dudes. Alright, it says the longest single recorded case of Hulkamania was also the first. After Hogan defeated the Iron Sheik at Madison Square Garden and began a legend in earnest, he embarked on a 4-year reign that ended much like Cena's due to weird happenstance. In this case, a fluky loss to Andre the Giant that was almost immediately voided by Jack Tunney because the ref, who'd been bought by Ted DiBiase, counted to the 3 even though Hogan had raised his shoulder. Hogan had raised his shoulder to break the pinfall. Sorry, I'm going too fast. So, who knows? It may have went a little longer. That's what they... If you remember the announcers back then, they're like, a real Pearl Harbor job and stuff like that. And then Bob Buckley. Growing up watching wrestling, this guy, Bob Buckley, would always show up. I'm like, who in the hell is Bob Buckley? Because this was way before I was born when it happened. And I didn't know this until I looked this up. I'm like, so that's why they brought him back so many times. He's the second longest reigning champion in the company's history. Now I understand all those times he'd show up. Holy crap. 2,135 days. Can you imagine, there's only 2 guys on this list that broke the 2,000 marker. Bob Buckley. How long's WWE been around? Almost 40 years? And only 2 guys have broken that? Holy crap. It says, here's a fun true story. Bob Buckley used to swing by the WWE.com offices once in a while, and several members of the team had the opportunity to shake his hand. and get critiqued for poor posture. This doesn't really apply to anything that happened in the ring. Suffice it to say that Mr. Buckley, an unassuming fellow, and we understand how some young members of the WWE Universe might look at him and wonder, how is he WWE Champion for 2,000 plus days? But take it from us, when you feel his grip, you stop wondering. And then, of course, number 1, because you can see it as I'm scrolling here, Bruno San Martino. Look at that number. Look at that number. I did the math on my phone here, and it's basically over 7.5 years. 7.5 years as champion. Can you imagine? Let's say you're a little kid, right? You're, I don't know, you're 8 to 10 years old, and you're watching wrestling, and for your entire high school and beginning of college, some dude is the champion the whole time. Could you imagine that? That just blows my mind. That's like you have a kid and he goes to school. That's how long this guy's been champion. This is like going to college and working for 3 years, and then this guy's still champ. This will never be beaten. I don't care what they say. Nobody will ever touch this, because with social media and complainers and all the whiny little douchebags and the smarks or smart marks or whatever, like, oh, this will happen. You know, they got to keep people guessing. I'm surprised Roman has been champion this long, but he's not touching this record. He might break the 1,000-day one, but he's not touching Bruno. If he does, I'll shave my head. Anyway, and let's read this little thing here. It doesn't say the time frame here. I'm guessing it was back in like the 70s. So there was a reason. Well, actually, it's probably the early 60s, because it said the second reign was in the 70s. So let's see, do the math. Probably early 60s, maybe even the late 50s. Holy crap! Anyway, there was a reason Bruno San Martino sold out Madison Square Garden all those times, and there's a reason why pretty much every Italian American of a certain age speaks glowingly of seeing him compete in the world's most famous arena. He was a superhero in the last age when you could conceivably believe such things were real. Yeah, see, back when wrestling was, everybody thought it was real, having a guy like this, like, nobody can touch him, you know? He was basically like Muhammad Ali or whatever, but he was probably garnered as like the greatest champion because he's held the belt for so long, just in any sport, because wrestling was believed to be real back then. Let's see, where is my real? Maybe the modern era is more your thing, then hey, that's fine too. But between his in-ring exploits, real-life history, and quite philanthropic ventures, there was magic in Bruno that couldn't be explained. It's our job to quantify his greatness, so we point to the fact that he was WWE Champion for almost 3,000 days. Holy crap. That certainly isn't nothing, but it says a lot about Bruno San Martino that it still doesn't seem to do him justice. Does he have any kids that are wrestling? Like, or grandkids? Because he's, I mean, let's face it, he's an older fella. Any kid that like wanted to wrestle and make it to the WWE, they could market the crap out of the guy, unless he didn't want to live in his father's shadow or grandfather's shadow. I mean, think about it. Awesome. Anyway, I thought this was really interesting. I want to make a video on it. I'm probably done with the Roman Versus series, but I might do a couple of these just for fun. Like the last one might be Bruno. I might go through this list. I'm not going to repeat it, but I might go through and have him face, let's see, number 10, Hulk Hogan, right? Or the ones that appear twice. Let's see, so Macho Man, AJ, Cena, Punk, Pedro Morales. I wonder if anybody's made these guys yet. And then, of course, Bruno will be last. Buckley. I mean, oh, that is cool. Anyway, thanks for watching. I had a lot of fun going over this stuff and looking it up. I might make another video actually diving into the time frame and all that stuff, but it depends on how much views this gets. But anyway, thanks for watching, and stay frosty.